Shalom, everyone, and welcome to your first day of Biblical Hebrew. Today's guest is the letter Aleph. Say hi, Aleph. Right, I forgot. Aleph can't say hi to you because he is a silent letter, which means it can only make a sound as long as it's paired with a vowel. So let's help Aleph out here. There. Now you can say hi, right, Aleph? A. So this is something unique with Hebrew for this specific letter. It can only get its voice when it's paired with a vowel. So let's take a look at some other vowels that are paired with Aleph. There we go. Now Aleph can make a bunch more sounds. O, ah, O, A, and ah. These are just a few of the vowels that can be paired with Aleph. There are actually a bunch more. To be specific, there are just like English, there are 5 sounds in English. Five vowels in English. Hebrew has 5 vowel sounds as well. We're not going to dive into a lot of vowels. We're going to focus mostly on this consonant Aleph. You just need to know that it's silent and that it can only make a sound when it's paired with a vowel. So let's take a look let's have a closer look at how this works in Hebrew. So this is the word av, and here we have the consonant Aleph, and then we have the vowel down here. This vowel is called a kamatz, or kamats, doesn't matter. So we have Aleph and we have the kamatz. Now Aleph is silent, so what we're going to do is we're going to look down to the vowel, the kamatz, and kamatz makes an ah sound. That's why there's the letter A here. So ah. Then we're going to look over and we see another consonant. You're not going to learn this consonant today. You're going to learn it later, but I'm just going to tell you what it is for now. This is the letter vet, and it makes a V sound, like here, V, V. And so you look at the consonant, Aleph is silent, look down to the vowel. This vowel is a kamatz. It makes an ah sound. Look over to this letter. It's a vet, it makes a V sound. So you go av. Hope that makes sense to you. Hebrew creates this sort of zigzag pattern that you have to look down, then up, like this kind of zigzag pattern as you go through the letters. And that's what I meant. If you've seen the introduction, my video for introduction to Hebrew, it feels kind of dizzying sometimes in Hebrew, especially if you're new. But over time, what will happen is you'll just look at this whole thing as a unit and you'll just say the word av. You won't even have to look up and down. You'll just know it. You'll just say av. But for now, I'm just going to keep doing this sort of pattern as we go through the lessons with all the words. Then you'll be able to see the pattern and you get used to it. Okay? And this word means father, ancestor, or forefather. That's the meaning of this word. Av means father. And sometimes can be used as referring to an ancestor or forefathers. Kind of like in English, we do that. We say the fathers of the early church fathers or fathers of modern science. We use the word father even though they're not actually our fathers, but we still use the word father to describe someone who's a founding member of like an organization, or like a discipline in science, or even when we're talking about the early church fathers, we use the word father that way in English. It's similar in Hebrew. He had the word, it means father, ancestor, or forefather. It's kind of similar. Okay, next word is amen. And if this word sounds familiar to you, it should, because this is the word amen or amen, as we say in English. So let's take a look at how it's pronounced. So we start with the consonant Aleph. It's silent. So what we're going to do, we're going to look down to the vowel. This vowel is a comet, and we saw it earlier. It's going to make an A sort of sound, so you say ah. That's why A's here. Ah. Then we look over to the next consonant. It's a mem, makes a M sound, like the M, M. Look down, you see another vowel. This vowel is called a tsere, tsere, makes an A. You can kind of hear it when you say the name of the vowel, tsere, A sound, like E and I together. So then we look over to the next consonant. It's a N sound, like N. And so when we follow the zigzag pattern, you see silent, look down, A, M, A, N, Amen. And then that's how you pronounce it, Amen. It kind of follows that zigzag pattern. And so this is how you pronounce words in Hebrew. You're not expected to know this yet. You're first learning the consonants, but I'm going to keep showing you this through all the lessons so that way you become familiar with it. So when you do come to the point where you have to learn the vowels, it's hopefully going to become almost second nature to you. Okay? The next thing I want to talk about is transliteration. So transliteration means you're going to phonetically write out a word, like this Hebrew word, with English letters. So this is what I've done. This is called a transliteration. I've phonetically written out this Hebrew word using English letters. Now, since Aleph is silent, you can just ignore it and put just the vowel. So you just do the ah part. But sometimes you may see that other people transliterate it differently. Sometimes they want to let you know that there is a silent letter, like there is an Aleph here. So the way they do that is they put something like an apostrophe right before the vowel. So they put the apostrophe, which kind of represents Aleph, which is the silent letter. And then you have the vowel. And then you have A. And so this is what I want you to just keep in mind, because sometimes people will transliterate it differently. It's not wrong. It's just that they may do it different. Some people will put it with the apostrophe. Some people just won't put the apostrophe. And it's perfectly fine. It's just a matter of preference. So don't be alarmed when you see it with an apostrophe or without an apostrophe. Okay? And this is what the word Amen means. It means so be it, truly, firmly. You may have heard in the New Testament, wherever Jesus says surely, surely, or truly, truly, in Greek it's actually transliterated Amen. It's Amen, Amen. That's what it actually says. When Jesus is saying truly I tell you this, he actually is saying Amen, Amen, I tell you this. So just something interesting, that's a word he seems to use a lot if you're reading the New Testament. Okay, next thing you should know about Aleph is that it's part of a specific class called gutturals plus resh, because Aleph is a guttural letter. In the past, it used to be pronounced like very deep in the throat, and some dialects of Hebrew may still have that remnants of it, that it still is pronounced deep in the throat. But today you won't really hear it anymore. You just treat Aleph as it's silent, especially, which I mentioned earlier in the introduction to Hebrew, that we're using the modern Israeli dialect. So you won't hear Aleph with that deep of a guttural sound. You just treat it as if it's silent. But it's part of this class, and this class called gutturals plus resh, you need to know it for grammar purposes, and that's why it's part of a class. But now that I said the word grammar, you're probably sighing and freaking out. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to remove class, and we're just going to say it's part of a club. So you can think of Aleph as being part of this special club that only certain letters in the Hebrew Aleph-Bet are privileged to be in. So you'll find out why later on it's part of this club. There's certain characteristics to this letter that affect different words. When in Hebrew, you'll find out later on, it's just know that it's meant for grammar purposes, and for now, just know that it's part of this club. Okay? The next thing you're going to do is you're going to learn how to write the letter Aleph. Okay? So you first start with a diagonal stroke. So you see these lines here? Start from like the blue line and you go down to the other blue line. You create a diagonal line like that. Then you start with another line, going from the top of the blue line, joining it to the initial stroke that you made. Then you start with the third line, like this, and then you join it to the bottom line. So you can pause the video and try and write a couple of olives out in a row. This is important. Well, some people may find it important, some people may not. But it's usually a good idea to practice writing, because then you have something to connect it to your brain. So you're writing and you're looking at it as well, and you're saying the letter. You're involving as many of your senses as possible when learning. So it's usually a good habit to do that. So you can just pause the video, try and write a couple of these out, and then you can proceed to the rest of the video. Okay? So here's the next thing you're going to do. You've heard of a word search, but instead you're going to do a letter search. So what you're going to do is you're going to try and find as many olives as you can in this sentence. This is from Psalm 1:1, and you probably are familiar with it in English, but we're going to look at the Hebrew text and you're going to see how many olives you can find. So you're going to try and find at least 3. But what I'm going to do for you to make it a little easier is I'm going to remove the vowels. So that way it's clearer for you to just see the consonants. And that way it's easier for you to find the letters. Okay? So I'm going to put a timer up here and I'm going to let you try and see how many you can find them. Okay? How many you can find. Ready, set, go. Okay, time's up. So how many did you find? Let's see how many are here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7. So we have a total of 7 olives in this first verse of Psalm 1. Okay? Now, what you should know by the end of this lesson, you should know the name of the letter. What is the name of the letter? This letter is called Aleph. What sound does it make? It is silent. It cannot make a sound without a vowel. It needs a vowel to make a sound. Okay? Transliteration. Remember, you can transliterate it with an apostrophe or nothing. That's why it's blank here. You can transliterate it with nothing because it's silent. So you can do that apostrophe thing, or you can just not write anything and just write the vowel. What type of letter it is a consonant. Okay? Last thing is the club. This letter is part of the gutturals plus resh club, and you'll find out later on what this club is for and what it means, but for now, just know that it's part of this club. And as we go through the lessons, I will keep saying it's part of this club, so hopefully it will stick in your head by the end of learning all the consonants. That way, once you get to the vowels and later on for grammar and stuff, you'll be able to remember it without rote memorization, just by how annoying I am and how I'm going to keep saying it. It is part of the gutturals plus resh club. Okay, so hopefully you don't get too annoyed though and give up, but I'm just going to try and repeat it as much as possible so that way you remember what groups the letters are from without having you to do so much work by memorizing it. All right, so this has been your first lesson in Hebrew, and I hope you enjoyed it. And I will see you in the next one where you learn the letter Bet. Well, shalom and God bless.